Weird phenomenon. And it happens to me on Twitter. It does not happen to me on Facebook. It does not happen to me here. Maybe you can explain it to me. Or maybe you just have your big boy pants on. When the Cowboys lose, whether it's because Jalen Smith played poorly or weirdly or theatrically poorly, or whether Andy Dalton plays erratically, or whether the offensive line, or whether the defense, or whatever it is, we need to say it. It's my job to say it. It's your job to say it. You are stockholders in the company that is Dallas Cowboys fandom. You are owed some truths, and you deserve to ask questions, and my job is to try to chase those down. Some of those questions, when you lose, or even when you win, but certainly when you lose a play-in, almost playoff game, which is what the Cowboys did Sunday, NFL Week 17, 23-19 at New York, in which in way too many ways they did not show up. 23-19 sounds close, and it was close. 23-19 suggests that you had chances, and you did have chances. But you lost to a 5-win team that didn't really have a home field advantage, that isn't better than you. Except they are now, because the Giants kept their season alive, at least for a few hours, and killed yours. Some Cowboy fans hate it when we criticize Mike McCarthy. It's strange to me. Those same Cowboy fans did not hate it when we criticized Jason Garrett in the exact same way. When I criticized him, or when you criticized him. And I said about Jason Garrett the same thing I've said about every coach, and I've said it about Mike McCarthy. That sideline management is a zoo for the best of them. I've said, and listen, what do I know? I've only covered the Cowboys for 30 years and the NFL for 40. 40. Which is why when I give old sayings, they're old sayings, because I'm old. You are only as strong. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And the Cowboys sideline work by the coaching staff in this loss of the Giants was the weakest link. Quarterback played as hard as he could with a smashed up other hand. Didn't play well, played as hard as he could. Ezekiel Elliott, a good bet. Didn't play well, but a good bet. He played hard. Offensive line played hard. A couple times when the wide receivers might have gone a little alligator arms, but the wide receivers are good. Not a problem here. The tight end, Dalton Schultz, what was he, 7 for 70? It's a good backup tight end next year. Played hard. Defense. Too many goofballs. Too many guys dancing around and doing somersaults and not knowing what the score is. And I don't mean just Jalen. It's not just Jalen. Other guys did it too. Goofy penalties, and Jordan Lewis bashing some guy in the face with his helmet, and was it Randy Gregory who dove across the top of a pile for no reason? Let's go pose for a photograph when we're down. What are you doing? You stink. You're the worst Cowboys defense of all time. Why are you posing? Why are you dancing after on 2nd and 4 you tackle the other team for a 3-yard gain? You haven't accomplished anything. Special teams, not a problem this game. Greg Zuerlein, 4 for 4. The only problem is you probably shouldn't have had to kick one of those, which takes us to the sideline and the weakest link. Mike McCarthy says this game was a microcosm of our season, and that much, I don't think Mike McCarthy got anything else right today. He got that one right. Today fit the year, even though it's a new year. this new day fit the last old year. The decisions, and I've chronicled them here before. If you want to find my detailed look at the year through a McCarthy prism, go find my Fish report that talks about Mike McCarthy's 10 biggest screw-ups. By the way, that was from a couple weeks ago. We're going to have to add to the list after what happened in New York. Season is dead. Forget the argument whether or not there's such a thing as a good or winning 7-9 team. They didn't even get to 7-9. 6-10. They start the year, the first thing they did as a coaching staff is decide to install a new defense over WebEx meetings. Ignorant and arrogant. The Joneses have since admitted it. They have since admitted it. That decision is just as ignorant as two things that McCarthy did here. The coach chooses to kick the point after in the third quarter so he can close to 4 points. Why do you want to close to 4 points? What's the value? Think about it now. And by the way, the chart proves me right. People on Twitter want to argue. Think about it. What's the value of closing to 4? What do you get for it? And think about this too. And I think I'm willing to bet $1,000 that Mike McCarthy forgot that Cowboys tying this game would have put them in the same position as winning the game. See, that's not on the chart. That one's not on the chart. Being down by 3 is the same as being down by 2. Because a winning field goal is the same as a tying field goal. $1,000 says McCarthy forgot that. Surely he read it somewhere over the week, forgot it. Because he didn't coach like it. He didn't coach for the tie. He coached for a loss. Then an even more dubious decision. Giants are driving. Kid makes a catch. Diving catch. Ball bounces on the ground. Mike Pereira of Fox, the officiating expert, says, no question in my mind that if Dallas would have challenged this, it would have been reversed to an incomplete pass. McCarthy doesn't bother to challenge. Or is there 6 minutes left in the game or something like that? My buddy David Hellman from DallasCowboys.com tweeted, and he probably got more followers for it because he took an opposite position than I did, because people on Twitter are very sensitive when it comes to Mike McCarthy. I don't know why. David tweeted, well, it looked like it was a catch to me. But what? With all due respect, and David's my guy, to you, what doesn't matter what it looked like to you, nor does it matter what it looked like to me. What matters is it made the field goal 10 yards easier. And with 6 minutes left, if I have that number right, McCarthy had all 3 of his timeouts left, if I have that number right. There's nothing wrong with challenging. There's no downside to challenging. And when Mike Fisher, David Hellman, and Mike Pereira are all debating about whether or not it was a catch, and Mike Pereira says there's no doubt it was not a catch, Mike Pereira wins the argument. No disrespect to me or David. And after the game, coach says, well, we just thought it was close. Pereira says it wasn't. And we wanted to keep our timeouts. Why? Why'd you want to keep your timeouts? So then Dallas drives. And let's forget that final fumble, which Cowboys could have come up with, and then who knows. Final drive. Bad decision by Dalton. On the third down, he scrambles madly and basically throws a Hail Mary into the end zone. Andy, why on third down would you throw a Hail Mary that ends up being an interception? If you don't have anything, just throw it away and live to run another play. Or if you look at a highlight, go to my Twitter account, you'll see this. And he can run it right up the middle right away and get 10 yards. And then you got a fourth and more makeable. I don't know if that one's coaching. Maybe that one's just on Andy. But you saved your timeouts. Again, go through the year. I get it. Tough year. Tough year, and this day mirrored that tough year. Gerald McCoy and COVID and Tyron and Zach and Van Der Esch and Dak, the biggest of all. Dalton sidelined by a COVID and a concussion and playing in this game with a bloody 8 stitches hand. But let's measure the Cowboys by the big measuring stick. And this is where I say again, Twitter, I love you, Twitter. Not as much as I love YouTube, though. Put your big boy pants on. Like the Cowboys don't. Monday Night Football against the Cardinals, 38-10. Sunday Night Football against the Eagles, 23-9. Thanksgiving against Washington, 41-16. Even on a Tuesday, national TV, Ravens, 34-17. Oh, and the flex out game. Cowboys had embarrassed themselves enough on national TV that the league finally said, let's not put them on national TV anymore. But today, that was America's game of the week or whatever. I mean, it had Troy and Joe, even though it was a noon game. And the Cowboys got up on the big stage, as I mentioned earlier, and bumbled off of it with the help of the coach. Did the defense step up a little bit better than in those embarrassments? A little bit, sure. It's still one of the all-time worst in points and touchdowns allowed. And all the silliness on defense. Did the special teams step up? You got the field goals. Great. Did the offense look Dak level? Because that's the challenge. That's what it's been doing for 3 weeks with Dalton at quarterback, 36 points a game on average. Nope, didn't do that. Didn't do that. Against a Giants team that does not have enough weapons to do this to you. This was an NFC East championship game, sort of. And the Cowboys weren't big enough. Because Mike McCarthy wasn't good enough. Same as the previous head coach. Wasn't good enough. Same as the head coach before him. Wasn't good enough. And the one before him. And the one before him. Part of it is that sideline. I'm telling you, it's a zoo. Hard job. What I've said for I probably haven't said this my whole time. I've said it for 30 years. The head coach needs a right-hand man who's just on the sideline, and he's in charge of asset management. He's the asset management coach. And no head coach wants to give up that job himself because he thinks it'll make him look stupid. Mike, it'll make you look smart. Hire an asset management coach, and he stands right next to you. He says, we got this many timeouts. This guy's tired. This is what you do when you need 2 points. All of it. Write in a book. Look right in the book. And right in his head. He's got to be a football math genius, which Mike McCarthy is not. I mean, he might be a football genius. I don't know. But he's not a math genius. We know this. He's not an analytics expert. We know this. I've talked to him. I've asked him. He ain't. He did tell me, listen, I came up as a quality control guy, and analytics are part of that. And they are. But that was 1980. It's different now. What you keep, what you manage, what your assets are, what you do with them, they're different now. So what does Mike McCarthy have now going into the offseason? Thanks to this? Well, if I'm not mistaken, he's still got some of his timeouts left. Fish out.